Hey guys, I wanted to make a video about perfectionism. I've thought about it for a couple of weeks now, and I was walking around keeping some various notes on the topic in my wallet. And I think it's about time to start talking a little bit about it because I've had my own struggles with perfectionism, and I wanted to delve into those a little bit and also talk about what I observe in others when it comes to perfectionism. And this might help somebody who's looking to work on this character, both a sort of a quality and a flaw at the same time. And I know it's been quite difficult for me to let go of some of the some of the tendencies of perfectionism. And part of why I make these videos is because uh, doing them in one take, I only get one opportunity to try to get everything out that I want to get out. And it's been a good experiment for me to do that and not get really obsessed about editing this or that and what am I going to put here, um, providing resources and all these kinds of things. So those kinds of habits, I would recommend anybody who's already having some issues around being a perfectionist try to find something. That would be my first dose. This would be my first piece of advice. Would be to try to find something that you can release as you go about doing it. So it doesn't actually have to be perfect. It's okay for it not to be. Try to find something like that and practice with that. So what makes this rather difficult is that many high performers have the same qualities as perfectionists do. I mean, not all the things are negative when it comes to perfectionism, and that's why I say it's both um, a character trait and a flaw at the same time, because perfectionists are very self motivated people. They take ownership for what they do. They're oftentimes team players, and usually their rigidity is well disciplined towards a goal or an objective that they have. Now, I mean, they get a lot done. So if you look at perfectionists and you look at high performers, the comparison that I'm making there is, both are going to get a lot done. And it's going to be hard to differentiate between the two sometimes, to what degree someone's a perfectionist and otherwise just a person of in sort of a high performance life. So, I've been reading this other book, Letters from a Stoic, and going back to what's said in here sometimes. This is Seneca, Letters from a Stoic, Seneca, writing to Lucius. Um, and many of the qualities of the Stoics were things like self control, courage, to be self sufficient, and they would practice this restraint in many ways that um, perfectionists might. So Seneca has a line in here. He says, "For a delight in bustling about is not industry; it is only the restless energy of a haunted mind." And so, this sort of tells you what the Stoics think about restlessness. It's just this is a person almost possessed. They've so stay away from that. It's sort of their message around those kinds of things. So, out of those things that are what a high performer would do, and then looking at what a perfectionist might do with some of those things, I wrote down stay, be rigid yet fluid. So keep some of that strictness and deliberateness, but practice a like things are moving through you in a way, like that life just sort of flows sometimes, and it's okay to be present in what's happening and just enjoy that as you go about. just be kind of pulled almost by the forces of life rather than trying to command and control um, all the variables all the time. So some of that is also around um, um, proportion. What is the proportionate to the task? What is the amount of perfectionism that's needed here? Um, Behind me, I built a raised bed and I screwed up the corners. I didn't get the edges. Um, let's see if I can show you here. I didn't get the edges flush like this. There's a little gap on how I built it. And it's a box of dirt. I don't need to be upset about the fact that it doesn't have the edges right. And I'm building this thing and I'm thinking, boy, this is why I use the screws because I can unscrew it and I can fix it, I can adjust it and do these different things. But it's a box that holds dirt. So proportionality to the things that you're trying to do are ways that some of these tendencies can be combated a little bit, that you won't be taken in so quickly by that kind of thinking. And the perfectionist really gets all worked up about this. And oh, I didn't get the corners just right at 90-degree angles, so I'm going to have to you know dismantle the whole thing. Just gets worked up into a frenzy about the orderliness of certain things and how they should be done. So um, beware of that. I mean, I get worked up in different ways when it comes to things like that. I do tend to think there's a proper way to um, go about the way that you have conversations with people and be cordial. Uh, Say the kind of conversation you might have with a stranger. I tend to think there are some standards here, and that's not all that controversial. I mean, most of us would agree there's some standards there. But upon those standards being violated for whatever human reason, I mean, there's a number of reasons that certain typical mannerisms and or it's a word I'm looking for. I can't remember, but there's reasons sometimes manners are not always adhered to. So just something to keep in mind as well. Um, so I talked about my own standards a little bit. One of these is running late. I don't like to be late. In fact, I go early oftentimes just to make sure that I can get a good seat, get my ticket, get all the things settled up that I want, or just sort of have a understanding of what my bearings are going to be throughout the evening before it's crowded and I can't really see too well anymore. There's people everywhere, so it's one of my things is running late. Um, I wrote Casey Kasem outtakes just because there's a great like 6 minute long Casey Kasem outtake of all these call letters and all these advertisements he was having to do for people, and he talks a lot about uh, the call signs and ways that he was sort of dealing with perfectionism and how to let go. Um, when someone does better than I do, sometimes I get a little tense about that. I like it when people do well, but there are also times when um, I get a little caught off guard, and so those are some of the things I try to apply my own tools to how to let go of that, how to um, be be more fluid in my life, and I just thought it's a real interesting topic. The more that I thought about it and observed other people around me, the senses I got from their tendencies um, just made me really think. So I hope that this video does the same. Bye for now.